Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Pallas. This week's show is on life hacks from life coaches, and we've got an amazing panel to discuss it. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit and like that. Please hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook, register with StreamYard so we can see your name when you comment or have a question. Please keep all comments and questions related to the show's topic. And remember, this is a safe space. I want to thank our sponsors that keep me going every week. Thank you so much to Amanda, Kirsten, Michelle, Ruth, Heidi, and Tim. You all rock and enable the show to go on. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting it. I have started a Patreon and a Cafe Press, and you can go to my website and all of those things. I've done a whole bunch of t-shirts with all of these crazy sayings. I'm not your property. You can get everything from stickers to bedding on Cafe Press. It's really kind of crazy. But go on, buy some t-shirts, buy some mugs. There's even some Fireside Creator swag on there. So I would really appreciate it if you did so. Okay, so thank you in advance for supporting our work, and let's go ahead and meet the panel. First up, we have Amy. Amy Aubrey is an acupuncturist, energy medicine practitioner, and holistic health mentor. She has a bachelor's of science in environmental biology and a master's in acupuncture and oriental medicine, and a PhD in, I was going to ask you how to pronounce this, Amy, pharmacognosy and medical ethnobotany. Good enough. She is passionate about helping people release energetic blockages and learn tools and techniques that help them experience the fullness of who they are. Amy is also a writer, mom of 2 amazing daughters, and lives on a hobby farm in Arizona with 3 dogs, 2 hedgehogs, 6 chickens, 2 goats, and a baby desert tortoise. Welcome, Amy.
Hello, thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Next, we have Lisa Maria Mares, and she's been doing yoga and meditation for over 20 years. She is a manifestation coach, law of attraction teacher, and a life coach. Lisa lived abroad for many years, faced death, and can assure you that life is so much more fun. Welcome, Lisa.
Thanks so much, Sherry. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you guys are here. For those watching and expecting Lisa Hickok, I think might have an issue, but if she joins us, then we will go ahead and add her to the show as we get here. So, in the attempt at full disclosure, I have known Amy for quite some time. We are both writers, and we've been in the same publishing group. And I want to start the show off with something that she gave me. I now, because of Amy's direction, do a gratitude list every morning. And I demand myself to write at least 10 things I'm grateful for. I also wake up with a song in my head, so I usually write down what that is. But it has set me on a totally different footing now that I do this. And it's something that was just so simple that completely turned everything around. I mean, like, get up in the morning, I'm having my coffee, I have my phone in my hand. And so, of course, there's social media going, the news is going, all of these negativities come in. I don't even look at it. I stop and then write those 10 things of gratitude and then deal with all the minutia on social media and how all that goes. So I wanted to do a show on this to say, okay, there's got to be other hot topics that can help other people in their lives, especially coming out of quarantine, all of these stressful things that we've been going through. So I want to talk about your best things that you have and what you give clients and those types of things. I'm just meeting Lisa, so welcome to our show for the first time. But let's start with you, Amy. What do you think is your top best advice ever? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Right, exactly. The best thing you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, my top best advice for people is to not try to follow any specific system or fit into a box of, do these things every day in order to feel a certain way or to reach a certain level of wellness. The way that I like to mentor people is, kind of creating your own toolkit of things that you're drawn to. So the gratitude list is just one of many things that you can do every day that don't really take that long, right? It doesn't take that much time out of your day, but the amount of impact you get from it is so important and, can really shift your whole perspective.
And it
So,
has.
yeah, and a lot of times people are looking for, okay, well, this system or that system or this worked for that person, so it should work for me. And we're such dynamic beings and we forget that. We think we're just sort of this person that is always this way and always will be. And so at certain times of your life, different things may work better than others. So I really encourage people to see what you're drawn to, what things really resonate with you and feel good to you, and then have this sort of like a toolkit. And then if you're going through a time where that thing isn't working as well, or you're just not being pulled towards it, then you can kind of look through the other tools that you know of and start implementing some of those.
So give me a tool besides the gratitude
So,
list.
so another tool that I give to people is called straw breathing. And it's a really quick way to shift yourself out of stress or fight or flight mode and into parasympathetic rest and restore mode. So anytime you're able to extend your exhale, it's sending a signal to your brain that all is well. You're no longer in a state of danger. Our minds don't really know the difference between an actual threat in the moment and a perceived threat. So when you are thinking about next week and all the things you have to do to prepare for it, your brain thinks, okay, I need to keep you safe right now. So by extending your exhale, that's sending the signal to your brain like, hey, okay, right in this moment, I'm safe. So straw breathing is exactly what it sounds like. You take a straw and you don't actually need a straw, but I encourage people to try it with a straw because then you get an idea of the resistance. So if you don't have a straw, you just make that shape with your mouth. You take a deep breath and then you exhale through your mouth like you have a straw or through the straw.
Is there a hold or anything?
What do you mean?
So I know that one of the breathing techniques that I love that gets me out of stress is I
Breath
think
hold.
Holding your breath?
7. You breathe
Yeah.
into 5, hold for 4, and then
Yep.
breathe out to 7. So
Yep.
is there any type of holding, or is it just breathing?
This one doesn't have a hold, and
Okay.
it's more like almost if you're taking a drag on a cigarette and you're letting it all the way out. So you really just let that breath go until you absolutely can't breathe out anymore, and then you breathe in. And so usually after doing this a couple of times, so you do the long exhale through the straw, take a couple normal breaths, and then do another exhale through the straw. And do that maybe 2 or 3 times. And you're going to feel your whole body kind of take this collective sigh of relief. So again, it's just flipping that switch. And now instead of being in that like high shoulder, alert, you come out of it.
Oh, I've caught myself in times of stress literally not breathing.
Yeah.
Just completely holding my breath.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I got to breathe.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn purple in a minute.
And our breath is always with us. It costs no money. And there's, like you said, you already know a different breathing technique that works for you. So there's lots of them out there. So again, just start playing with them. Figure out the ones that really make you feel that shift and that kind of coming down feeling. And then when you're in those moments, okay, I gotta focus on my breath for a little bit.
I think that's one of the hardest things is to remember to do that, especially in the heat of the moment.
Mm-hmm. It can be, yeah. And that's why sometimes practicing them not in the heat of the moment makes them more available to you when you need them.
Make it more top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, what about you? What's your top thing that we can start off the show with?
A lot of what Amy said, breath techniques. I like to do morning journaling. So I like to take, a nice journal and just get all my thoughts down. And when I write, it's not about complaining or like what's not going right in my life. It's about harnessing the things I want and sort of writing in a way that feels like I'm already there. So those are some of the techniques I've learned from manifestation and as a coach is to say like, I'm living abundantly with amazing health. My cells, my organs, my blood are all working in cohesion. My breath is strong, my health is top, my love life is amazing, my job, people love me, they appreciate me, I'm purposeful. I just like a total like you go crazy. I do it for like what, 30 minutes. It's wild and I love it.
So even if those things aren't true, you write it down?
Even if they're not true.
Okay.
Even if they're not true.
The manifestation.
That's the whole trick. It's not about it needing to come true. It's that it will come true with your focus.
I like that. So, I downloaded a diary app on my phone.
Yeah.
So, there's no writing or, keeping any, I have paper and books and everything everywhere because I'm a writer. So I don't use that time to actually write out. I may not even read it, but the diary app works really well for me. And then I can talk into it, but I like doing that. I like the idea of adding the manifestation to it. I've added mantras to it. And one of them is, I lovingly release all that does not serve me and receive abundance with gratitude, which I just absolutely love. Although I have to say, when I first started doing this, the first week, my TV went out, my laptop went out. I'm like, okay.
You're being released from what doesn't serve you.
Yeah, I need this. I don't necessarily need the TV, but, it's like, okay, maybe I should be a little bit more clear with this.
Yeah. Well, it's powerful. What we focus on, I believe, turns into reality. And there's probably a lot of people that would question that and say, well, I didn't want this cancer, or I didn't want this health diagnosis, or my marriage to fail. And there's, we could dive into that, and that's probably for a longer segment, but it's just, somewhere our subconscious thinking does rise to the surface. And I feel like it does become reality at some point. So really everything you're thinking that you don't even know you're thinking is so important. And you can override those negative, more, downtrodden thoughts with the thoughts of abundance and joy and gratitude. And, I have everything I need and there's more coming and I'm a masterful creator and I create my reality. And you just go on this rampage, really, is what I like to do. Just a total 30-minute rampage. And if that might seem long for some, so start with 5 or 10 minutes, and just write everything down that you want, but write it in present form. So not like I want this, more like I have this.
Okay.
And then the subconscious and the conscious link, and then it magically appears in your life.
One of the things I learned years ago, and I'm not sure if it was from Wayne Dyer or Eckhart Tolle, because they both kind of say the same thing, just differently.
They do.
Or if it was completely someone else, but it was, your word is your wand.
That sounds like Wayne.
Really changed perspectives for me because, and I still slip. I am the most powerful statements in the universe. That was demonstrated in the Bible with Jesus, or, according to God and others, and other religions. But anything that follows I am is a statement in action. So I've learned how to do that pretty well. I watch it, people go, oh, it's always something. I'm like, no, don't say that.
What do you mean they say it's always something? You mean,
it's always something,
and it's like, they're arguing for your limitations.
Say that it's going to be, there's always going to be something there.
Exactly. It's almost like trying to tell someone this and they go, well, it's not that easy. It's like, well, that's arguing for your limitations. It's trying to find that little rebuttal to keep you back in that spot. It's just that little subtle thing that will still keep you where you are. So you got to cut that out. The moment your mind goes, but it's not that easy, you just go, okay, I heard that, and I'm forging on.
Yeah.
And I'm continuing. I
got caught up in with a friend of mine, Michelle, who's been on the show a few times, but she and I are working together on these different goal setting projects and stuff. And I sent her a message and I was like, I just got too much shit going on right now. Just got too much shit.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, you can be busy, but for God's sake, quit calling it shit.
Shit. Right?
And I was like, okay, so I've mastered the I am statements, but my cursing is still damning everything to hell.
Gosh, I love her for noticing that and for actually bringing to your attention that when you say it in that way, it's almost slightly like, I'm frustrated a little. It's like, too much shit. It's almost like saying, I have so much awesomeness going on that like this just has to wait until later, honey. You know what I mean?
Been a much better way. And she would have applauded me for that and said, I gotta come on.
yeah, come on, quit calling it shit. That's shit. You're lucky to have so much going on that you're wanted and that you're what you have to share is needed and people are thirsty for it. So it's appreciation.
And that brings me to the other life-changing thing that Amy did for me. We had a video chat, I don't know, about a year and a half ago, maybe, if it was that long.
Has that long, Amy? Gosh, I don't know. Time's flying right now.
I know.
I have a sense of it.
But through simple conversation, she picked up that I have held my value in my giving. For all of these years, if I'm not giving, I didn't feel valuable. And that rocked my world.
Yeah.
It was just through simple conversation. And, these types of things that, life coaches can work. These are, you guys are not therapists. I want to make sure that's very clear. This is not a medical therapy type thing that is different. This is life coaching to make your life better and to encourage you to do things not necessarily to heal trauma. Although that can be accomplished, through doing so.
Yeah.
But that was one thing, just to say, just to realize that I matter. Those types of things are really cool to see in the life coaches. And thank you for that, Amy.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So you do a lot with the Reiki too, right? So
I don't do Reiki. I do other energy modalities, not specifically Reiki. I like Reiki. I just never studied it. So I do acupuncture, and then I do a hands-on modality called Jin Shin Jitsu, which is Japanese, but it has kind of the flows and meridians. Just it doesn't use needles. And then I do a little bit of like cranial sacral. So I don't know, I kind of have created my own mashup over the years with the things that I've learned. But one of the things that I do in my private practice that I think has really kind of added to, because I'm all about the mind-body stuff and the affirmations and the mantras. And I think that can be really, really powerful. But for me personally, I had like a stage where, despite working on things like that, it was like nothing seemed like it was shifting and it was stuck, because the words matter, but it's also where the energy is. It has a lot to do with the vibration and the frequency. And so sometimes you can look at a statement and an affirmation, and you can say what the words are on the piece of paper, but depending on kind of how you're aligned with it, you may be actually looking at the opposite of it more than the thing that you want out of it. And so what I found in my practice is...
are you going to explain that? Because I don't think I'm following.
You don't think you're following. Okay, so let's think of a statement that you want to be true. So you affirm it. Like, I am open to receive my abundance. So when you say that and you believe it, it's expansive, right? You feel this sense of like, yeah, I can see this coming. This is happening. This is awesome. But when you say that and you're not quite aligned with it, even though you're saying the words, what you're feeling and the vibration that's coming out of you is, well, crap, I don't have enough. I need more. Like, there's stuff missing from my life. So you might see those words on the page and even say them out loud, but there could be something in your vibration that's like a sticky stuff that's interfering with it. So one of the things that really helped me to be able to look at things like that from the point of, the aligning with it rather than the opposite of it or the missing of it, was to do some energy releasing techniques of different things. So it's different for everybody, and it has a lot to do with how you've been brought up and the beliefs that were part of, your childhood and the way that you experienced life. So releasing these energies that sort of get stuck with us along the way can really kind of make it much easier to align with those affirmation statements that you're moving toward.
Well, and I wondered if the opposite is true, because when I said to Michelle, "I've got so much shit going on," I didn't mean it in a negative.
Mm-hmm.
The energy behind it was just, I curse like a sailor.
Yeah, and then that kind of helps, because you don't need to be like feeling bad about yourself every time you say something that you think, oh, I don't want more shit, right? Like, you're not literally trying to bring shit into your world. So yeah, it's less, the words are important, and it's good to be mindful of what you're saying, but really it's more important to be mindful of how you're feeling about what you're saying. Right. So that's the emotion, is where the energy is being directed. And that energy that you're putting out is always coming back to you. So that's kind of where, if you're going to get into the details of working with affirmations and manifestation and law of attraction, getting really focused on how you're feeling about those things that you're saying or doing.
That makes sense.
And I agree with that, but I would say that the feelings are a result of kind of what your story you're telling in your head. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's a little bit of seeing it differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I find the emotions can be a result of, I don't have that thing, and now I'm super sad about it.
Right.
But then how can you bring in enough joy to get that thing so that you're not super sad about it? Right. So it's actually getting internally, like, feeling good. Mm-hmm. And then the outside reflects that, versus like the other way around, like something good happening first. And then you're all like, I'm so happy it happened. Right. It's more like finding gratitude first and like being in that receptive mode. Mm-hmm. And then the things on the outside start to reflect that. That's how I found that the law of attractions worked in my life, or manifestation. Yeah. But you're right. Emotions are very important and a very key aspect of energies and alignment. But I find emotions are a result of that story that we're telling, right? Oh, the pity story, or, I got shortchanged, or I had a bad childhood, I had a bad divorce, I got fired, I had a bad diagnosis. All those stories start to accumulate, and then we develop a personality, we develop who we are, we tell the world, we broadcast it day and night, and then we get more of that. So I find you have to go way back before all that whole storytelling started, and find the observer in you, find the part of you that's non-judgmental, that has no opinion, that is really Christ-like in a lot of ways. I would call it that. I call it source and God-like behavior, where I'm not judging, and I'm not, I'm centered with a non-judgmental point of view.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think having the non-judgment, or cultivating that, is really huge, because whatever you're feeling, whether it's, considered a positive emotion or a negative emotion, first of all, we're the ones who make up those categories. And then when you add your judgment onto it, right? Like, well, I shouldn't have said the shit or whatever, right? Like, I didn't do that right, or like, that's going to work again, right? That energetically, you're actually creating more heaviness, more constriction, because you're piling that judgment onto what you already perceive as negative. So, being able to just acknowledge whatever you're feeling and just say, I'm allowed to feel this. This is okay. I'm a human being. That allows it energetically to pass much more easily, right? So then you just flow into the next thing, rather than having any of those energies kind of stick.
Agree. Yeah, more of a neutrality, like just, okay, it is what it is.
Acceptance. That's what Buddha teaches.
Yeah, we love the Buddha.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, years when I was 18, I got into sales, and part of the reason I got into advertising sales was because of the fake it till you make it mentality. And, I had to fake a smile a lot of days because I was in advertising sales and I had to talk to customers and I had to do these types of things. And there was a lot of times I didn't want to do it. I was a single mom, raising a toddler, all of these things. But by noon, I was in a good mood. Because, and I know a lot of people have a problem with fake it till you make it, of it not being genuine and tough and stuff like that. But I think it boils down for me as I'm not a morning person. And in order for me to be kind, I need to fake it sometimes. That doesn't mean my energy is off or that my, what's the word? My
Your intention.
Yeah, my intentions are wrong. But sometimes the fake it till you make it has changed my attitude. Because it needed to get my mind off of the negative, stop that spiral from going.
Because it can override that, it can override that sort of, no, it makes sense. Yeah.
And one of my favorite sayings is your attitude is contagious. What are you sharing? What are you spreading?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really says a lot about our energy that you were talking about, Amy, because, anyone with any type of perception, when you walk into a room or you're talking to someone, you can kind of tell what kind of mood they're in, if they're happy, if they're sad. My aunt called me the other day and I said hello and she said, "What's wrong?" I mean, she knew instantly by my, hello, what was going on. So I think that energy, like you said, if we're putting it out there, regardless of what our face says, regardless of what our words say, if we have that bad energy going, that negativity, I think that's going to be observed. I've seen it in concerts. I've seen it in mosh pits. I've seen it, in things just change people's attitude in fighting, things to get, it's amazing to see. It can be terrifying too. But when on the negative side, but on the positive side, it's also really cool to see.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I think we don't realize the power of it. And, people get very caught up in the reactivity of whatever's going on, right, in the world and the news. And then you kind of lose your ability to come from that authentic place because then you get into defensive mode, right? So, the practice with the gratitude in the morning, a practice like that is meant to center you so that you are coming from this place where, yes, things are still going to be happening in the world around you. That's always the case. But really, we always get to choose how we react. And it doesn't feel like that sometimes, because if you're not centered, then you often just get pulled into somebody else's strong emotion or vibration. But when you take that time to center yourself and then even kind of recenter throughout the day, this is one of the things that I encourage people to do, because a lot of times we've been taught, okay, in the morning, do your practice, do your meditation, and then go about your day. And, that should carry you through. And I don't know, not so much. So for me, instead of doing maybe a lengthy practice in the morning, if you find that you start to shift and feel less than ideal later in the day, I encourage people maybe break that up and do smaller practices throughout your day, especially someone who's sitting a lot in front of a computer and not moving. Take some breaks, take 5-10 minutes here and there, and, do a meditation, do a journaling, go for a short walk outside. And that will just help to sort of bring you back into center and be coming from that authentic place rather than reacting to other people's energies.
Agree. Yeah. I do that. Take small practices throughout the day.
For me, I get my reminders because every time I look at the clock, it's 47 after. And that reminds me.
Just randomly? That's when you look at the clock?
It's the craziest thing. I wake up at 7:47 or 5:47. It's always 47. But that I use as, years ago when it started, I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You
What is
know?
this trying to tell me? Yeah.
Yeah. Now I look at it as a way to recenter myself. When I
Yeah.
see that, that's when I go, okay, because I can get really stressed out. I can get
Yeah.
moving, and take things and just tunnel vision and go all the way. So, what do you do what are some of the tips and tricks for other people to center themselves when they don't see, this reminder on the clock all the time, but to
Um,
get present?
Honestly, the easiest way to start is to use this, which is probably always with you anyway. And
Okay.
set some actual reminders throughout the day, set some alarms, because
Interesting.
that can often, that's people's biggest excuse, is like, I know what to do. I have the tools, but I don't know how to implement them into my life, right? Like, I just don't do it. I'm busy and there's stuff going on and my life just goes from this to that. And like, I get it. You saw the list of things that I have in my world right now. But for one, it's realizing how worth it is, right? A lot of
Oh,
times we
yeah.
think, well, it's 5 minutes. What's the big deal? Why would I even bother? But again, it's this idea of, are you going to be the one controlling how you feel, what you're putting out into the world, or are you just going to kind of go along for the ride with other people's energy? And then, right, who knows what's going to show up in your life because you're not the one in charge of it. So
And that rings to my
realizing,
control freak ears, by the way, going, this is why it works for me.
yeah, yeah, kind of that, understanding the importance of it on the one side, and maybe the motivation will be different for different people. If you're somebody focused on your health and your well-being, then understanding the physiological effects of stopping and taking some deep breaths, right, that resets your central nervous system. So that's hugely important for health and well-being. So figuring out your why, like, why does this matter to you, is important. And then also in the beginning, use the tools like your phone to set reminders, and think of it like an appointment that you're going to spend time with somebody else, that you wouldn't skip it. So you have to set it as a priority in order to really take the time out to do it.
Make yourself a priority.
Absolutely.
What do you say, Lisa?
I love that. I do the same. I like taking breaks throughout the day to also watch like some of my favorite teachers. I love Joe Dispenza. I love Eckhart Tolle. I love Byron Katie. I love anything with the Buddha, or any kind of words taught. But I take moments throughout the day to watch a 5-minute video, or like she mentioned, some breathing techniques, or just stretching, legs up the wall, right? Just get down on the floor, throw your legs up on the wall, and just, right, just let go, let your heart open, close your eyes, just kind of take some moments to step back into your body. And like Amy mentioned, not going down the road of reactivity, which is obviously, natural as a human being to feel reactive. But as she mentioned, which is so true, we have choice. We have choice, but really the choice, it doesn't feel like, is we're on autopilot. We're so much on autopilot. We're not aware of the fact that we can harness awareness, and that even the fact that you can observe your thoughts and feelings is already, you've stepped into awareness. The fact that you're thinking, and that you have responses, that's already stepped away, and you can see and you can peer into your mind, and that it's working. But it's not getting lost in the story, of like the news, and what your husband said, and your child that doesn't want to do what you want, and all the things that happen throughout the day. Just
Yeah.
taking moments of breath. I love tapping. I might just do a little bit of this, do a little this. As a Reiki person, I like to just use my hands to just maybe cup my belly, or touch my heart, or even just the crown of my head, right? I might just like be still for a few moments. Just small breaks in thinking is so helpful. The no thinking mind, it's a beautiful place.
Well, in part of my journey, one of the things that kind of, gotta stop with the negative words. I was going to say wrecked me, but it was such a positive experience. Um, I learned that someone said, if you don't believe that you are, a being full of energy, put your hands together just a little bit apart, and how you can feel the heat and feel that energy. And once I saw that, I was like, whoa, all of a sudden everything started to fall in and go, okay, I truly am an energetic being. People are picking up on this energy coming out. I'm not just skin and bones and the chaos of the day. I am, and like Amy said, as a control freak that I am, when there's chaos going on in my life, if I can control me, that tends to mute the chaos too. Then
Yeah.
it's not so important. Then it's not running me, I am running it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I also was told it's probably about 10 years ago now, that being flexible was the key to a long and healthy life. So I stretch every single night. It's healed my back problems that I have scoliosis. I don't wake up with headaches anymore. So if anyone poo-poos yoga or anything like that, I mean, yoga has saved people's lives in my
Oh.
life. I just have to say that. There was a boss I had
Oh
a
yeah.
few years ago that if I didn't go to that yoga class, I don't think either one of us were making it out that day. So the whole mind, body, spirit thing all really does work together. And because our lives are going so quickly,
Yeah.
we forget about that.
Yeah, I read something I wanted to add about yoga where my doctor, I think, told me, cardiovascular is important, right? Getting your heart pumping. But the most important thing he said is how quickly, if you were to fall on the floor, you could get up, which is your right? Think
Yeah.
about someone who's old and they fall and they're there. I've fallen and I can't get up, right? Their ability to hop up is slower, right? If one of our parents fell down, they're not going to hop up. It's going to take them a minute. So your mobility and your ability to harness those little muscles are so important. And stretching you not only is stretching great for obviously the physiological, but for, as Amy mentioned, chi and energy and stuckness and right. We get things stuck in our hips, stuck in our shoulders, and yoga helps with all that. It breaks up all those blockages. So everyday stretching is awesome.
Well, and it's really hard to focus on the minutia of life and everything that's going on when you're in one of those poses and you're about to fall over, or your body starts shaking because you're like, I'm not strong enough for this, and you completely forget what pissed you off at noon and what sent you to that yoga class to begin with.
Yeah, that's yoga.
Yeah,
in the moment, you're too in the moment.
Yeah.
So
what are some other, my biggest thing, and again, I call this my weekly counseling sessions. I would say my biggest thing, and I know friends that have the same issue, is to remember to be present. Other than alarms, are there anything else? Like, should there be signs up in your house? Take a breath, chill out, take 5 minutes. What kind of tools do we have in this modern age of influx of information?
Honestly, I think, again, this is where I would say find what works for you. So for me, anytime first of all, it's how are you feeling right now? That's a big one. Like, just stopping for a moment and tuning in to your body.
Checking in with yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because it really is, like, you said at the beginning that gratitude journal that you do every day, it seems so simple, but it has made such a shift in your life. Mm-hmm. And it's really these simple things that we think, oh, that's too simple, that can't possibly work. But it's almost the more simple you keep it, the more meaningful it really is. So just asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? How do I feel? And that can be physically and emotionally. And if you're feeling tension in your body, if your shoulders are coming up like this, if you're not feeling good about what you're doing in the moment, right? If it feels like work or efforting or, not a lot of fun, that's all information that you are getting about where you are in that moment. And so when you start to really pay attention to how you feel and to expect to feel good most of the time, then you stop settling for not feeling that good, right? So you notice more quickly, and then you take that time out more apparently, or you'll be more willing to do it because you know how good you can feel, right? When you do that gratitude in the morning, that sets you up. And so that really should be your baseline. And the rest of the day, if you start to fall from that or shift, then that should, that's your indicator. I need to do something. So, as far as how do you force yourself to do it or how do you get yourself to do it, I don't know that you can really, just like anything else. If it's not something that speaks to you and that resonates to you, you can set all the reminders in the world and you're just going to turn them off and go about doing what you're doing. So it really is more, it's like the difference between motivation and inspiration, right? Mm-hmm. Motivation is almost forcing you to struggle through something you don't necessarily want to do, but you can see the benefit of it on the other side. Whereas inspiration is doing something that you are really pulled to, that is calling you, right? It's speaking to you, and you know that not just on the other side of it are you going to feel good, but that whole process is going to benefit you, that it's something that you're going to enjoy the whole way through. So that's why it's hard to say, these specific things are all you need to, feel good or to get out of the chaos that you're in, because it does become a very individualized experience from person to person.
Well, and then once you see the benefits, you don't want to stop.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what inspiration is, right? You don't need the motivation to get you going anymore, because you're kind of being drawn to it, and I have to do this.
Well, and my diary app that I downloaded, actually, I cannot start until I click a smiley faces or a sad face or a green face as to what I'm doing. And up until now, it's been kind of, just something to do so I can get to it. But that's a check-in. That's an actual check-in to say, how are you feeling today? Exactly. So I'm going to value that more now.
Yeah.
Lisa, what do you do to become present and to remind yourself to do so?
I do a lot of the things that Amy mentioned, but I think what's something I wanted to mention, because someone could be watching this and thinking, well, I don't have anything to feel grateful for. I mean, there were times in my life that I really struggled, and to actually start making gratitude lists was too big of a challenge. And so I don't want to end this session without mentioning that sometimes the best thing to do is to get neutral. And what I mean by that is not needing or forcing yourself to write the list about everything that's great in your life. If you can't find anything, if you've gotten a diagnosis, for example, if you're going through a divorce, if something's happened to your child, people go through many things in this life, and they're not able to jump automatically to the gratitude list or to get present. Their mind's racing, they're in despair. And so what I've learned in my journey toward being a teacher, coach, and mentor is that getting neutral can be such an opening to that catalyst of gratitude. And how do you get neutral? It's not really putting emotions to things straight away. It's just taking time to be still. It's taking in your breath. And maybe it's even laying down for a while. I say take a nap. That's one of my big ones. Distract yourself, yes, from the mental narration of maybe the misery that somebody could be facing. They're not ready to write the gratitude list. They're not there, but they want to get there, but they're wondering how they're going to get there. And so sometimes just that window of opening can happen when they just learn to quiet things a little bit and just zip it a little and just not tell the story to everybody and be a little bit quiet, do some praying, do some meditating, and sort of seize the chatter. And you'd be surprised over time, if someone did that little by little each day, how this opening would just sort of somehow just find they'd find themselves in this opening where they could then start to see more light, and they could write those lists. And so I guess I just don't want to forget to say that, because sometimes people are not in a place where they can write lists, and they don't have, big joys to, broadcast. And I've been there, so I know. And getting neutral really helped me. And how did I get neutral? Again, I took naps. I read books about things I wanted to learn about. I took a language course. I took up pottery. I called people I hadn't talked to in a long time, stuff like that. And it was so, so helpful. And over time, within, I don't know, a few weeks, I started to feel lighter. And I started to feel like, oh my gosh, that story's not running anymore. And I almost forgot how miserable I was, and then light came back in. And that's so important. But to answer your question, I do lots of things, from breathing to tapping to self Reiki, to watching videos from some of my favorite teachers, doing things like this, being on podcasts and spreading these messages. They all help me stay centered.
I love that. I think that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes just like tuning out to something you enjoy, like a TV show, right?
Yeah.
Mindless.
Totally.
It doesn't have to be serious. It's not meant to be like, oh, I have to study, I have to learn, or, stuff like that. It's really tuning in to the things that are joyful to you, and giving, recognizing the importance of giving yourself that, right? Like we're meant to be enjoying this experience.
Yes, we are.
So, yeah, if you're going through a rough space, I think that's great advice.
For me, with the gratitude list, it was because I have so much going on, because I have all of these things that can be definitely viewed as negative. It took me into a mindset of gratitude. So there have been many, far too many days where I've had to truly look for things to be grateful for. And it might be, there's been days where it's just that, I saw the squirrel today, or that the birds came to the feeder today and that made me smile. My dogs are always at the top of my lists.
Yeah.
But for me, I needed to get away from the negative thought patterns. And so to go, no matter what, there is going to be something to be grateful for. And I pushed myself. I have a lake in my backyard, and sometimes one of those things are just that the lake is calm today. Just looking at for those little things to switch it from the panic, oh fuck, all of those things, whatever's going to come, to say, wait a minute, I have proof there are 10 things that I know, at least 10 things I can be grateful for at this point. So for that works for me. But again, you're right. It could be too much for anybody.
I'm on the phone.
Well,
not yet.
And to that point, Sherry, sometimes looking at things in general can be an easier way to get into, right? If the specifics of your life are feeling overwhelming, and there's so much that doesn't feel like something you're grateful for, then you actually shift to something more general, right? Like the lake, or, and anything, the fact that, the way that our planet is related to the other planets in the solar system gives this planet the ability to support life, right? That the sun gives us the warmth that we need to grow the food that we need. Looking at the food that we eat, like if you actually sit down at a meal, most of the time we're focused on, okay, how many calories is this? Am I getting enough protein versus carbohydrates versus fat? Is there enough veggies on this plate? And none of that is benefiting your system. But if you sit down and you look at your food and you go, wow, this is here in front of me and I get to eat it. All of the farmers who grew it, and then the trucks that transported it, and then the grocery store clerks that put it out for me, and all of these amazing little miracles that went into this one meal that I'm going to put in my body, and it's going to give me energy to go throughout my day, and my body knows how to process it. And how amazing is that, right? Again, with the rampages, like you could get on a rampage of appreciation about your meal that could go on all day long if you wanted to. tend to
You
do,
really stretch that stuff out. Yeah.
right? But what we tend to do instead is be like, oh my God, I ate one too many bites. Why did I do that? That's going to stay with me for the rest of the day. Now I need to go work out and I don't feel like it and I'm tired, right? So it
Or
really,
I always do that.
Yeah, it really is about just practicing as often as you can these little pockets. And if you need to in the beginning, just go so general.
Yeah.
Just look at the general,
like the birds,
like
the
the
birds and the
sunset.
squirrel.
Neutral.
Yeah, and that gets you started.
Yeah.
Then often the momentum, right? Just like with the negative spiraling, where it's like once it starts, you're like, oh,
More of it comes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm being pulled into this.
Yeah.
It's true of the other way. So
it is
anything that you can think of. And if you can only think of one thing, that is totally fine. Just stay there for a while.
Stick with it. Yeah. Milk it. I agree. I'm with that. Yeah. I had something bad news recently happen. I won't get into it, but I had to literally like walk around the house and go, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. I'm not. Nope. 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 No. You know what I mean? Because I felt it just was trying to get me. It was trying to get me to, you know what it is? It's trying to get us back to some subconscious programming that we're used to. Maybe a hurt feeling, maybe a someone not approving of us, maybe some sort of unworthiness somewhere where we've got a pattern going. Something shows up and then tries to validate it, and so in your mind, it's those negative feelings are trying to connect with that and get all your neurons and synapses and all these, neurotransmitter, chemicals going so that you'll get sunk back into this sort of, bad space. And so you really have to be so hyper acutely aware that that's going on and go, no, not today. It's not happening, and just it's really making about face. And so that's something I've had a lot of experience with and is super important.
I don't believe in him, but I love the saying, get behind me, Satan, not today.
Exactly like that.
But even that, like even that reaction that your mind wants to pull you into, that our subconscious mind is always just trying to do what it thinks is best for us. So even that, you can go, okay, I feel you, right? Like I get you're trying to protect me. Maybe in the past I needed that protection, but I don't anymore. So that what you were saying earlier, Sherry, about I'm willing to let go of things that don't serve me, something to that effect.
Yeah.
That's really what that saying is about. It's telling that part of your brain, which, maybe when you were smaller or with an event that happened somewhere along your life, your subconscious is taking this all in and going, okay,
here it is again.
I need to keep you safe. I got to protect you. Don't forget about this. Don't forget about that. And so one of the things that we can do with our conscious mind is just to kind of say, okay, I hear you, right? Our subconscious mind is a lot like a toddler. It doesn't have the same logical linear thought process that our conscious mind has, but it for sure wants to be heard, and it's not going to shut up until it is.
Mine is on the floor in the grocery store doing a tantrum.
Absolutely. That's what it's supposed to be. But so, like with a toddler, I tried this with my daughter when she was 2. I used to have these very logical conversations with her and explain to her why this was not okay and why I was doing what I was doing. Never worked. It never worked. And then my husband would come in with a stuffed animal and listen to her and talk to her with the stuffed animal. And then just like that, she'd be fine. So when you honor just for a moment, right? It's not that you're believing the story or that you're letting it take you over, but you're just looking at it and saying, okay, I hear you. I understand you're trying to protect me. I don't actually need that anymore, but thank you. Then for me anyway, it makes it easier to let those thoughts kind of go.
That's really interesting. It's again treating yourself like a friend.
Exactly. Right. This is a part of you. It's not out to get you. It's not, it's not the bad guy. It is you. It's a part of you that's wanting to protect you. And so learning to talk to yourself like you would a child who's having a rough time, or like you would a friend, that can be so powerful. Because right, why would you talk to yourself any other way? but yet we do.
I would never talk to anybody the way I talk to myself.
You never would. You never would. You never would. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Never.
it's really kind of crazy. You know, I say like the worst of the things to myself. And any of my friends said, "Well, this is what I think of myself." I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? How could you say that about yourself?"
Yeah.
Yet we do it all the time.
Yeah.
One thing I want to go back to really quickly is so many people pray before a meal. And that prayer has become convoluted to thanking a higher power when the origins of it was to be thankful for what was given for you to eat, not just the life of an animal, but the life of a plant or any of those things, to be thankful for the part of life that you are going to be consuming right now. In changing that thought process to thanking a higher power for blessings or anything like that, and honoring the loss in order to give me life, changed everything for me. It went for more of a, it was very regimented, you know, all the prayers, you know, thank you for this food, you know, you could say it in my sleep. And then all of a sudden it went to a lack of waste. It went to truly honoring what I was eating, and whatever gave its life for me to do so. So I think that, you know, in switching our thinkings from gratitude and getting out of the moment, you know, getting in the moment, rather getting out of the rat race, a meal is a really good time to do that.
Yeah.
So just stop and say, you know what, I don't, even if it's a plant, that plant is dead now because you're going to eat it. So, you know, regardless of, you know, I'm in a whole campaign of Save the Pumpkins for Halloween, just a joke, you know, but whatever it is had to die in order for you to be eating this. And so just to stop and honor that is a great way to stop all of that.
Well, and the cool thing is physiologically, our bodies respond to the gratitude, right? You can feel it when you get into that place of appreciation and gratitude. Even just for a few seconds, you feel like your chest sort of expand. So that's letting you know that your heart is working more efficiently, your blood vessels are opening. So when you eat in that state, your digestion is working better as well. So you assimilate better, your metabolism is working better. So again, that's why, you know, understanding, or at least, you know, coming to some realization of that mind, body, spirit connection, it really, it's huge.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of stomach problems when I was with my ex. I broke up with him and it hasn't happened since. Amazing. It really is amazing. I mean, I had serious stomach issues.
Wow.
And I mean, that to have, I mean, that they see that also in autism, where, you know, the gut is really attached to our emotions, and that's really evident in my life.
Yeah, it has its own enteric nervous system, actually.
Yeah.
That's connected via the vagus nerve and the access to the brain. Absolutely. Yeah. Do people ask questions on this show? Are there a list of questions?
You know, normally there is.
Okay.
But we are at the top of the hour, so
Okay.
I'm just going to. It's a kind of a strange show, smallest audience, and I've never had a show without any comments or questions. So not really sure what's going on today, but it will be up on YouTube, so everybody can look at it and continue to comment and stuff like that. But we are at the top of the hour, so I'm going to ask the both of you for some final thoughts and where they can find you. Amy, you go first.
Well, so there, my website is there. That's for my private practice business, and you can reach out. There's an email address on there if you have questions or just want to get in touch with me. For final thoughts, really just, I think there was some wonderful points made here, and it's really about little steps. And, you know, people sometimes get overwhelmed because there's so many different views and so many different health and well-being modalities out there. And, you know, life coaches, it has become a much more popular thing, but it's like, well, who do I go to and how do I start? And so, I encourage people if and when that overwhelming sense takes over, just focus on small steps. And a life coach or a health mentor is really meant to be a helper, right? They're not going to do anything for you. They're not going to force you to do anything. But if you want to make changes in your life and you're finding that using that remind on your phone, right, is just not doing it, asking for help, right? I think we're beyond the era where it's shameful to ask for help. I hope so anyway. Right. There's nothing wrong with it. And, I reach out from time to time to people that I know when I'm going through something and I know I need that support. And it's really just like having someone who for a little while has your back and can, coach you through certain things just to make it easier. And then, you'll be able to do the things that you want to do with that ease that you're looking for.
Well, these are definitely some powerful life hacks if anyone implements them.
Absolutely.
Lisa.
Yes,
final thoughts, and where can people put you up?
You can find me on Instagram at Masterful Creators Collective. I do lots of fun posts there. And my final thoughts is just to let everyone know that you are capable as an energetic being to overcome anything. There is nothing too dire that you can't overcome with the focus and harnessing of your attention and stillness and self-love and cultivating all that. And to get on Instagram and find my page for more tips on that.
That works. Thank you so much, ladies. This flew by. So I appreciate everything you did. Thank you so very much. This was a great show.
Yes.
I'm going to send you guys backstage and I will talk to you back there in just a minute.
Thank you.
Another great show. I hope that you guys got as much out of it as I did. Once again, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. If you are in Facebook, keep following along, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. Next week's show is actually on the Netflix series. Midnight Mass. There's a lot to talk about with that show. A lot of trauma involved, a lot of analogies and metaphors and all that stuff. So I'm going to have a couple people on to talk about it and really break it down. So I want you to have a wonderful week. I will see you next week, and walk in love, everyone. Bye-bye.